Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Think, Engage, Thrive, where we bring you some interesting entrepreneurs to tell their startup stories, the good, the bad, the funny stories about entrepreneurship and business startups. And we've got a great one tonight, someone from Dublin, Ireland. And anybody who's been watching this show for any length of time knows that we love hot sauce. We love hot. We early on we had a hot sauce sponsor. We've done a lot of things with hot sauce. At Crunch Growth, we have a lot of clients that are in the hot sauce business, and especially the micro producers, the independents, the people that produce it on their own and really not in huge factories, small batches. And tonight we've got with us Shane Doherty from Dublin, Ireland. He's got an award-winning hot sauce or sauce business, because he does have more than hot sauce. He's got barbecue sauce and some other things. But he's been in the States. He lived in Chicago on and off for a few years. He's lived in London. He moved back, and he was making hot sauces in small batches for friends and family, just like a lot of these hot sauce guys do. And then he turned it into a business, turned it into a brand. So we're going to hear his story and talk about what he did, how he got there, why he decided to do hot sauce, which is always interesting, right? And hot sauce it's a huge category around the world. It's still growing. It's still growing here in the States, and I find it interesting. I think it's a great category because there's so much you can do with it. But it's all about the flavor, man. So let's bring him in. And Shane, welcome.
Hey, Phil. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. So I gave you a little bit of an intro. Hope I didn't butcher it too bad, but let's give us a little bit of glimpse into who you are, what you do, what you did in the past, how you got here. So
No, you did a great introduction and you didn't butcher the name at all. I'm very impressed with the pronunciation of Doherty. Well done. So as Phil said, I'm Shane, founder of Little Red Sauces. We're an award-winning hot sauce company based out of Dublin, Ireland. I've been working on the sauces. This is our fourth year registered company, but it's third year that we've been on the shelves in Ireland. I've originally always had a passion for cooking and hot sauce in particular. I'm very lucky that my uncle, who's been living in Arizona for years, introduced me to hot sauce when I was a small lad. And I think it was a combination of my love for the sauce that he got, but the fact that we couldn't get hot sauces here in Ireland. We could only really get Tabasco. Now we have a full range and a full industry here, myself included. But I think the combination of the love for it and the fact that it was scarce, it really made me interested and wanted even more. So I've lost count of the amount of hot sauces I've gone through. My fridge is stacked, both with my own Irish ones and ones from America. So I've just always been curious into how it was made and produced. But I've been making my own sauces both here in Ireland. As Phil said, I spent some time in America and in London. And I think that's where I really started to fine-tune the recipes and processes. Whilst I was in America, in Chicago, I got to work with some amazing people. A lot of Latin Americans and Mexicans that were really kind and showed me their ways of cooking and introduced me to further into the world of spices and how to make different salsas, salsa verde and the likes. So that kind of just ignited the passion even more, if you want to say that. And whilst I was in London, I just had a kind of a eureka moment to thinking, why don't I just make sauce myself? I was probably going through a bottle of hot sauce every couple of days, which I don't recommend. But well, times are tough and you're trying to lose a bit of weight while saving pennies. I was on the chicken and rice diet and I was just milling through sauce to make the boar meals a bit nicer. So I had that moment of, why don't I try and make it? And I literally just started making different batches. A lot of failed and probably dangerous batches were made at the start, testing out different fermentation methods, different processing methods. And it probably took me the guts of about 4 years to really hone in on what I wanted and what worked for me. And to keep a long story short, I had some health issues with my stomach, so I kind of reevaluated what I was consuming. And off the back of that, I decided to set myself a goal or a a task of creating a few different sauces that were all completely natural. And not that there's anything wrong with using mixing agents or preservatives or chemicals to extend shelf life. I just wanted to set myself aside and set myself that task of creating a range that just use all natural ingredients and see what happened. And luckily enough, when I was in London, I was living with some amazing people, very supportive, and they didn't mind me pepper spraying them every weekend, making different batches. And I really did start fine-tuning. I was experimenting with a wide range of different peppers and ingredients and processes. Some, as I said, went better than others. One or two could have been on the side of chemical warfare, but they went well. And that's just kind of where I decided to really aim to grow in a business. And to keep an even longer story short, I unfortunately lost my job during COVID, like the millions of people that were out there. But it was the kind of kick up the you-know-what that I needed. Because I just made a great batch of sauces that I was really happy with, that were, again, all natural, fermented sauces as well, to help encourage strong biome growth and to help with any stomach issues people have. And at that time, my roommates and close friends in London and my family back home here in Ireland, they encouraged me to give it a go. And I was actually in a pub one day, and my good friend Tim had mentioned it to the bar staff there that I make my own sauces, and he did the selling for me. And basically, the restaurant wanted me to give them 4 or 5 different sauces. I made them for the company, and they wanted to roll out 5 sauces, both in food service products to use in the kitchen, to sell to use on the table, like your sauce caddies you guys have in America, and then to sell under their label, which, to be honest, was a mind-blowing event for me. And that was going to be rolled out across 30 of their locations, predominantly in London and some up north. But then COVID really kicked in London, or in the UK, and everything was locked down. Now, unfortunately, those businesses, most of them didn't reopen. I lost that opportunity, but it didn't deflate me. It did the opposite. It motivated me and gave me the proof in the pudding that I have something here, I'm passionate about it, why not give it a go? So I decided to move home to Ireland and really make a go of it. And when I came home, I've just had incredibly good luck. Make your own luck, but great support from local enterprise office. I managed to enter, there's a retailer here in Ireland, Musgrave SuperValu. They're the biggest in Ireland. They've had an enterprise program that support local producers across Ireland for this their 12th year now. It's called the SuperValu Food Academy. I entered that, was successful in that. It was an 8-month program which trained me up, and from everything from product idea to everything you need to launch it onto the shelves. And luckily enough, I progressed, and they loved the products and gave me an opportunity to sell into the shops. And now we are currently on about 12 SuperValus here in Dublin and about 12 independent shops across Dublin and in Ireland. And I'm looking to roll out across other shops as well. And as Phil, you did mention, we've got 3 products. It's fermented chili and garlic hot sauce. It's our everyday hot sauce. I like to name it that way to encourage people you can use this every day. I do have a bottle of it here, but unfortunately it has been drained by my family when my back was turned. Hopefully
bring it back and put it so that we can see the whole thing. There you go.
Yeah, so that's the sauce, the label. Unfortunately, as I said, it's empty, but that has to be a good sign if it didn't even last a day. Yeah. And then this is our second award-winning product. It's our smoky chipotle barbecue sauce. That won the gold at the Irish Quality Food and Drink Awards. And then I have a slow roasted pepper and garlic salsa, which I'm really proud of. Again, all our products are gluten-free, vegan-friendly, preservative-free. The only preservative we use is distilled white wine vinegar. But with the salsa, I fire roast the ingredients and slow cook it for about 10 hours. I also use freshly squeezed oranges in it. So it's not your traditional salsa that Irish consumers are used to. You will get similar products in America, but it's you really do get the freshness, and fingers crossed we get an award for that this year, because we've re-entered it to the Blas na HÉireann. It's the Irish Food Awards. So that's kind of a not so quick introduction to who we are.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great story. It's in some ways, there are micro producers or small batch producers in the States. So it's an easy market sometimes to get into, but it's a difficult market to maintain or to grow, because if you go in there with the same old products, you're competing against a ton of other guys. So you have to differentiate yourself. But yeah, I think it's one category that you can really be natural, and you can really be use fresh ingredients, because you don't need preservatives when you've got all that acidity in there.
I completely agree, and like, don't get me wrong, I still go back to the old faithfuls. You can't beat a bit of Tabasco Franks or Cristal's one of my favorites. But that, you hit the nail on the head. Like, if I was doing this, I wanted to set ourselves aside from the big boys and the common sauces. I wanted to create products that are similar but also completely different. Our everyday hot sauce, which won a gold at the Irish Food Awards, that's not the closest product I've been told that's similar in America is like a sambal or a sambal, but it's a bit thinner. But that's four ingredients: peppers, garlic, and vinegar. And something I'm really proud of, we've currently got a year confirmed shelf life for both the hot sauce and barbecue, but they're all being retested at the moment. And we should get 2 years shelf life, which was one of the goals when I set out this journey. And for context, that will put us in line with some of the big players, both here in Ireland and across the world, that have a 2-year shelf life, but we'd be one of the only ones that don't use any preservatives or mixing agents. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. And I'm not trying to rag on them, but I just wanted to set that task or goal, and I'm really proud that we've achieved that so far. And fingers crossed we get the 2 years.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think there's nothing wrong with preservatives, but if you can do without them, all the better, because then it just becomes a better product. I don't know if you have a problem with separation of ingredients where you just have to shake it a bit, but
Yeah.
I've seen that with some of the creamy hot sauces and some of the other things where they have no preservatives in it, and you got to shake it a little bit to get it back to consistency. But that's not a big deal.
No, 100%. I agree with you there. And again, the Irish market, like, it was perfect time to get into business in terms of the market's infantile. It's an infantile market compared to America, but consumers here in Ireland, when they see, if they're not used to hot sauce, if they see that separation, they just automatically assume that it's bad. But there's nothing wrong with it. You can shake it. I am testing out and working on more vinegary based sauces that are thinner in consistency, but you will get that natural separation. So I'm actually testing out a number of different natural mixing agents, like guam gum, and which is a replacement for xanthan gum, and a few other natural dried up herbs that can reduce the separation. But it's all about testing them out and going batch to batch. But I definitely think that was a challenge or a hurdle I've met, and I know a lot of other sauce producers in the market have as well, because you could put your product on the shelf, and within a few weeks, if it separates, people may not want to buy that because they think it's gone off when it's not. So I always encourage people to shake all our sauces up, but thankfully the 3 we have on the range at the moment, there's no issues there. And again, that's something I'm proud of. But some of our newer sauces, like a fermented garlic mango habanero sauce, is a lot thinner, and that may have a bit of separation, but that's always a good test for me. I'll create the batch and I'll separate, no pun intended, but I'll separate some units, put them on the shelf, and I'll monitor the separation in that product and then find or tweak it. But I'm really proud of the process that we've created and the end results, and hopefully we can continue to repeat that across different products.
So what brought you to Chicago and the States in the first place?
I think, great question. I think it's just like most Irish people, we have the itch to emigrate and to see what's out there. And for me, a lot of my friends, when I was in college, we can partake in a J1 visa, which allows people from Ireland and other countries to travel to America for, I think it's about 5 months, give or take. But you have to work in your field. So I did that for a couple of years. I was very lucky that my dad knew someone who managed to get us a job in a very highly regarded Irish bar in Chicago, Lizzie McNeil's, which was amazing. So I worked there down by the river, but me and my friend Shane and I, another Shane, we moved out, but we quickly realized that we need a bit more money to stay out there. So we actually managed to get a job in an Irish bar right opposite Wrigley Field. It's no longer there. I think Starbucks is in its place now, but it was called O'Malley's, and we worked there the 2 jobs for the summer, and I fell in love with the city. Went back another summer, but this time we brought 30 of our friends. Had a great summer, as I'm sure you can imagine. 30, 32, 22-year-old Irish lads in Chicago. We had our fun. And we went back then. 3 of my best friends and I moved back out there when we graduated college on a visa. And we stayed out there on and off for about 2 or 3 years and absolutely loved it. Had a great time there. Made some fantastic friends and family out there. But it was just time to move on. And that's why I moved out to London. I actually moved home to Dublin and I got an amazing opportunity with a company out in London. So I moved out there.
Were you in Chicago during St. Patrick's when they turned the river green?
I was indeed. That was a very fond memory. My friends and I actually got to partake in the St. Patrick's Parade. We got to walk part of it just around Grant Park up the Magnificent Mile, only for about 10 minutes. A few of the Catholic priests hadn't a clue who we were, so we had to talk our way into it, but it was amazing. We were invited for that now. I don't want people to think we just joined it, but I love that. And we've seen the river being dyed for years, so to see it actually take place was just amazing. And to be honest, no disrespect to my Irish comrades, I think Chicago does Paddy's Day a lot better than we do. The fact that they celebrated either the Saturday, I think it's the Saturday before, regardless of what day it falls on, just so everyone can get out and have an amazing time. I just love that idea. So yeah, we had our fun out there.
Yeah, I'll bet you did.
Yeah. And as I mentioned before, we were lucky enough to be there when the Chicago Blackhawks won the Stanley Cup. And we got to meet Corey Crawford and Patrick Kane and a few of the boys the day after they won it, which was a mind-blowing experience as well.
Do you have hockey in Ireland?
Yeah, there is small national leagues. I know they're up in Belfast, but it wouldn't be anywhere near on the scale of over there. Now I'm lucky enough that we have a package here at home that I've been watching the Stanley Cup playoffs throughout the last few weeks. Although I do have to watch a lot of them Monday to Friday, the next day on highlights. But as that progresses, I'll probably lose a good few hours sleep staying up for it.
Yeah, I'll bet. And you said you had an uncle in Arizona?
Yeah, my uncle Johnny's been out there for I think 35 years now. He has a paving company, but he's definitely one of the inspirations, or he introduced me to the world of hot sauce. My dad's also an inspiration. He showed me how to cook, but my uncle Johnny has been incredibly supportive throughout this journey and throughout my life. And I was lucky enough to be there a few years ago and really did show me that, in my opinion, and I don't offend anyone here, but I think it's the hot sauce capital of America and potentially the world. Like the level of enthusiasm there and the amount of incredible producers, both small, micro, and large companies, is just next level. Like when I was out there 3 years ago, I had to buy a second bag to check in, and I think I brought back nearly 60 bottles of hot sauce, and that's not an exaggeration. It could be an underestimate, to be honest. But that just shows how many producers are out there as well. I love it. It's one of my favorite places, Arizona, Scottsdale.
Yeah, it's amazing. I follow some of the Facebook groups about hot sauce, and it is amazing the how many people buy 50, 60, 70 bottles or have a collection of hot sauces and debate which one is better and why it's better. And I find that fascinating. I love hot sauce. I have probably 30, 40 different ones, but they don't last long because I don't keep them. I eat them. And, but I've been there's one brand that I've been trying called Yellowbird. I don't know if you know it.
Oh yeah, I got to try one of their flavors when I was in Arizona. I'd be a big fan of it. I'd love to check out the full range.
Yeah, so I've tried some of theirs, and Dave's Gourmet, the ghost pepper, and the scorpion pepper, and then truff, and there's so many that are out there now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just to add flavor. I'm not so crazy about the ones that just focus on pure heat, like Insanity sauce is just pure heat, and it's using extract to get there. And I understand it, but it's just pure heat. There's very little flavor.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with you. Now, don't get me wrong, each their own. But for me, I'd be exact same mind. Like, it's funny you mentioned Dave's Gourmet. Years ago, my uncle brought brought a bottle of that back from Arizona. And it was like the hottest hot sauce they had at the time. It was before the Carolina Reaper time. But when we used to have our friends over, we used to get them to dip a toothpick into the sauce and tell them, it's fine. It wasn't fine. With many people, I'm probably not friends with some of them anymore off the back of it. But the chili extract, that's something I'd love to create a natural extract. And it was actually last summer or the summer before I'd made a batch, and I had fermented it a bit too long, and it actually naturally started to extract the chili extract from it. And as a result, you could see these little black dots in the sauce. It almost genuinely looked like, do you remember the fountain pens, the ink, the cartridge of the ink? It looked like I'd spilled ink in a bottle, but it wasn't the case. Now, once I noticed this, it wasn't a batch to hit the shelves now, but I was looking at it, me and my friend were like, what's going on? And we had to do research and figure it out. But as soon as we tried the bottle itself, it was a lot hotter than the standard heat for that sauce. And that's what happened. Whatever way we fermented that bottle, it was still at the early stages of the journey where it was still somewhat fine-tuned in our process.
Yeah.
And that's what happened, which I didn't even know could happen. So like it's one of the things I enjoy about this. Every day is a day to learn, and you learn new things. But I am working. I'd love to create one of the world's hottest all natural hot sauces. But it can be a bit tricky. Like I went to make a Carolina Reaper ketchup, and it's a lovely sauce. I'll have to get you some at some time. But for me, it wasn't too hot. It wasn't hot enough. Sorry. Whereas a lot of people that I gave to really enjoyed it. But it wasn't hurting anyone. I don't want it to sound like I'm sadistic now, but if you see Carolina Reaper on a bottle, most hot sauce people want to be hurt, or they expect to feel the burn for a couple of days after. So it wasn't as hot as I wanted. And from that, I learned that if you cook, obviously when you cook peppers, you lose a bit of the heat, but I was using dried Reaper peppers, but I was cooking them too much. So like now to adjust that and get it hotter, we add more crushed peppers right at the end, just before you bottle it up. But when I make any hot sauce that level, it's like an episode of Breaking Bad. I've got the hazmat suit on, I've got the full ventilator on, and it can be bad. Like when I was in London, Shane, my friend who came to Chicago he was in Lebanon. He's part of the Irish Armed Forces, and they love hot sauce, him and his friends, and they couldn't get anything hot. So he just said, here, look, hurt me and the boys, make the hottest you can get. So I was working with a guy from Dorset, the Dorset chili growers, and they have the Dorset, the Dorset Naga was one of the hottest peppers at the time. Two different types of ghost peppers, normal and the chocolate, and a Carolina Reaper. And I'm not joking. Like I was lucky I had a balcony at the time, but I'd stir it and have to run out to the balcony. And I didn't realize my two roommates had a half day that day. And I was on the balcony getting a bit of fresh air, and they came in like, what is going on? You're killing us. So the three of us were on the balcony for the next 2 hours while we cooked it down. And it turned out lovely. The lads in the Irish Army loved it. And thankfully, we didn't hurt anyone, but nearly hurt ourselves.
Yeah. So, is anybody growing the peppers in Ireland, or you just have to import everything?
Great question. So that's something that's really starting to take off now. There are a handful of small producers and nurseries that are growing it. I myself, with the quantities we need, I import them from Portugal. Now, I would like to get to a point where we do own our own land and we are growing it. It will help reduce our carbon footprint, but also then allow us to hopefully rejuvenate some communities and show other people that they can do it. There's a great farmer down in Cork, rooftop chili grower, rooftop farmer is his name. He's grown incredible amounts of chilies. And I've connected with a number of amateur chili growers here in Ireland over the last few months, and they've been really helpful. I'm trying my arm at, or trying my luck at growing a chili plant here in one of those Amazon countertop hydroponic grow kits. I had 2 different types. I'd never done it before, completely overpacked it. So I had to somewhat remove. I think there's only 3 plants growing left, but they're growing to a nice level. We've got 2 jalapenos and an Italian pepper. So I would, like I said, get to a level where I'm growing it, but there's no one on a large scale. There's a great farmer just north of Dublin in Louth growing stuff, but hopefully we will get to that point because, as I said, the market here has taken off. The interest is growing every day. We've got incredible producers already, and there's new sauce companies every day going live. And I think we're spoiled. And the level of produce in Ireland, anyway, across the board is very high quality. So it'll be interesting to see what level of peppers we can grow. We would need polytunnels or a lot more greenhouses just because the weather isn't great here most of the time. Albeit it's been sunny the last few days, it's usually raining and cold, which is the opposite climate.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. So you need to have the big glass greenhouses, which there are some, but they're predominantly focused on growing tomatoes and stuff. But as I said, I do think over the next couple of years to 5 years, you will start seeing a lot more domestic farmers shifting, or at least allocating space to grow chilies as the market takes off here.
Yeah, that's interesting. So how did you get started in production of? How did you get started in production of commercial?
Oh, great question. So I briefly mentioned it earlier that I did a program here called the Super Value Food Academy.
Yeah.
So Musgrave Super Value are the biggest retailer in Ireland. Super Value is the shop name, but Musgraves own it. So I entered that. I'd only started the idea. I had a lot of support from the local enterprise office, which is local governments across Ireland. They encouraged me to do it. And throughout that program, over the 8 months I did it, they gave you the support, mentorship to do everything that you need to get up and going. First thing I'd like to say to anyone that's watching this and thinking of doing a food company at home, in their own home, you can do it. There's nothing wrong with it. You can start small, build big. I know there's some great producers here in Ireland that are doing that. But for me and for my vision of the company, I wanted something a bit bigger and more space. I'm lucky to have a lovely cat in my life here, my sister's cat. And just from a health and safety point of view, it's not the best to have a cat running around the kitchen. So I invested in a very small kitchen, that a bespoke production facility, which my brother in PR likes to call it. But it's a small 32 by 10 foot cabin, purposely built. It has a storage office and has a small commercial kitchen. It is just myself in the business currently, so it's perfect for the size I need. But hopefully I'll be in a position to scale up over the next year. I'd love to get a bigger factory and start employing a team and really ramp things up. But I started, like most, start small and build big. I do think in reflection over the last few years, at times I may have rushed into things and put myself under some unnecessary pressure. So this year I'm trying to take a bit more of a slower approach, really evaluating what I'm doing. But the goal is to scale up and to get a bigger facility, get a team involved. And I want to keep everything in Ireland as much as possible. Like as I said, I hand make everything myself, which I enjoy. Like some people will say I am slow in the progression. Like I could have outsourced the production of the sauce, but nothing wrong with that. But for me, I want to keep it in-house to keep quality high, to keep an eye on the recipes, obviously. But then the more control we have, the more possibility I have of, or we have of creating industries here and creating jobs here in Ireland. And that's one of the massive goals I'd like. That's why I put the Irish Harp symbol at the base of our logo, which is the Irish Harp and the chilies, to really hammer home that we're an Irish hot sauce company, because I think most people in Ireland know the power of Irishness. But when I was in America, that's when I really really saw firsthand that there is a power behind Irish people, Irish brands, and there's a connection. Most people, be it third generation family connection or just personal connection, people seem to like us as a nation and a product. So I wanted to act as an ambassador for Ireland and for Irish produce moving forward. So that's why I've kept it in-house, and I'll continue to do so as much as possible.
Well, I grew up in New York, and there's a ton of Irish people in New York.
Excellent. Yeah, my auntie's family are from New Rochelle, so I spent a few weeks out there when I was younger. Great part of the world.
Yeah. The city. I mean, there's probably 100 Irish bars just in Manhattan alone. There used to be more.
At least. And a great one to plug a family friend's business. A great one just opened up there recently, Gibney's. They have a local pub where I'm from, but they've just launched their first one in New York. Really high quality pub from what I know. They're one of the best pints of Guinnesses around. So if you're going back to the city, you'll have to check it out. Gibney's in New York.
Yeah, I'll do that.
I have to earn my free points somehow, Phil.
There you go.
Yeah.
So it's basically you're doing this full time?
Yeah, full time. Now I do everything day to day, but I wouldn't be in this position if it wasn't for friends and family. Like, I've had friends help me throughout the way. When I get big orders, labeling stuff, obviously bouncing ideas. I'm very lucky to have a strong network of friends and family that are always willing to help. Be it drop everything and help me with deliveries, come label 200 bottles, check out this idea, and of course to test product. So I'm very lucky. Like, it is just myself doing everything, but I say we because it is a family and friends business, and I'm lucky that my family and friends are incredibly honest, that if I give them a sauce they don't like, they'll let me know. They're not just going to say they like it to keep me happy, which has definitely helped throughout the way.
So you're bottling too at your place?
Yeah, correct. Bottling, hand bottling everything at the moment. I have tested out a bottling machine. It went terribly wrong. With our everyday hot sauce, it's a thicker consistency. I blend everything up, but we keep all the bits in, so you will get small bits of pepper skin and seeds. And this bottling machine, my friend and I were testing it out, and it was genuinely like a cartoon. The machine, it was blocked, and the machine exploded. The sauce came back, and it was like a cartoon. There was just a chili outline of my body on the wall. And thankfully, I had goggles on. Otherwise, I'd be blind. I wear contacts. I'd be pepper sprayed for weeks. So it was a lesson learned for that. But as I said, as we scale up, I'll be looking to get equipment in to automate the process and to make things a bit easier. But after hundreds of batches, I've fine-tuned it that for the moment it is a smooth process.
And you're sealing the lids as well?
Yeah, so we'd use I'd say obviously the lid's tightened. We reduce the temperature to the correct temperature, and then we seal it. And it's funny you mentioned that. I was only on calls with producers of machinery that will help with that to seal it. Obviously, my hot sauce is being opened, but when I started off, like everything, you just kind of have to learn as you go. You fail as you go, and you figure out what doesn't work or doesn't. So the only thing I could find to seal it was the same seals that you get in a bottle of wine. So on the top of our seal, there's like a golden stamp of grapes. And the amount of people that just ask me about it, they don't know, like, what's the story there? They think it's something about the brand. So it's helped us. set ourselves aside, but it's actually for wine bottles. But it's quick, and it's actually a part I really enjoy, because at first I was using a mini flamethrower to seal it, but now we use a heat gun, and you can seal 200 in the space of 5 minutes, and it really appeals to my ADHD. It was very satisfying to see them shrunk wrap.
That's great. That's just great. Yeah, it's a great story. So what are some of the obstacles you face? Because you basically started with nothing, and you're in a small kitchen. You're doing everything yourself, and that's always difficult. You're essentially building a brand and
Definitely, yeah.
starting yourself and bootstrapping the whole thing. What are some of the obstacles you hit? Have you ever had a moment where you thought, I can't do this, or I'm never going to survive, or I'm not going to make it?
Yeah, like I'd be lying to you if I said I didn't have that thought a few times throughout the journey. I think most entrepreneurs and business owners or brand people starting to build a brand have that. And if they say they don't, they're probably lying to save face. But yeah, I've had a number of challenges. Literally the week, I think it could have been 2 days after we first launched our hot sauce and Chipotle into Super Value 3 years ago, the price of chilies alone went 5x.
Yeah.
So straight off the bat, any margin I had was gone. That since then, there's been a number of other external economic factors like the war in Ukraine, just high interest rates, the cost of living in Ireland is through the roof, costs of produce, like everywhere, it's shot up. So from that side, there's been multiple economic factors and challenges. But as a mentor in Super Value said to me when we launched, if you can get through these and survive, you're going to do well. But I'm not going to sit here and say that every day I wake up and say, can't wait to make sauce. I'm every single person, like anyone, some days you just don't want to work. And I think it's those days that I just have to give myself a kick up the arse and remind myself that, look, if I don't do this, the work doesn't get done, and you're only going to have the knock-on effect for weeks and months to come. So that was one of the main challenges. Initially, when I moved back to set up the kitchen or to get a kitchen, I had a number of challenges. I couldn't get into a shared kitchen. Thankfully, the local enterprise and local governments have invested multiple resources and finances to help change that landscape. There's a number of kitchens like this Spade Kitchen here in Dublin is incredible. It's set up. You can rent it per the hour, and I know a number of companies are using that. The people there are incredible, Spade Enterprise, but that wasn't there when I started. So I was getting offers to come into a kitchen on the far side of Dublin when the pub closed 1 a.m., but I have to be out of there by 6, and it just wasn't scalable. So that's why I invested everything I had into the kitchen to get built and to have my own facility. But also to touch back on the fact that, like, every person's a human. Like, I do suffer a bit from ADHD. I can be distracted at times. So I do think there's been enough personal challenges, not to cry me a river or play the small violin, but just to reflect and acknowledge that I myself may have not been as organized as I need to have been, or to have a strong routine in the first year, which did not affect me because I've learned from it since and I've held it to benefit, but it may have hindered my performance at times, But you just have to acknowledge that and don't let it get you down and just keep moving forward. I do think at times as well, some other challenges can just be general, like cash flow can be an issue at times, but I think every single new business and brand has that issue at times. But I'm very lucky that I am part of a few different entrepreneur groups, Dublin Food Chain, which has connected myself and countless other food producers, and being able to bounce ideas off them or say, hey, look, what have you done in this situation, has been instrumental in getting me past a lot of these hurdles, and I'm sure I'll have challenges and roadblocks down the line, but I'm somewhat resilient, not to toot my own horn. It could just be from my upbringing and from the support, and to have the support around me that you just have to keep going, Like, I've also I've tattooed, where is it here? I don't know if you can see it. I tattooed the bottle of hot sauce on my arm. It's a constant reminder that it'll either motivate me or this will drive me mad. If it doesn't work, I might have to get a cover. But it's a daily reminder that I'm doing it for a reason. I love what I'm doing. I love getting to work with people. I love getting to meet people like yourself, getting in public. And when you see someone try the sauce and try the product and actually like it and give you positive feedback, I love that. It's similar like when you cook food for your family and your loved ones, when they really enjoy it. It's like that magnified, and it does make it all worthwhile.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think that everything that you talked about, every single entrepreneur from start has experienced. But you're 100% right. There are a lot of people who hit those walls and they give up, and then they go back to getting a job, and then they always regret it. And some people who persevere and push through, they're the ones that are successful. Because if you're profitable or break even, then there's an upside. If every single bottle that you sold was a negative and the whole thing was it's a negative, then you have to sort of reevaluate. But
I completely agree. Yeah, and look, there's nothing wrong with throwing the towel in if you get to a point. Then it's just, as you said, if it hits that you're negative, and everyone else is on their own journey, you don't know what's going on. But I do feel for people that invest time and money into their own project and it just doesn't work. But such is life. Not everything's going to be a winner. Not every sauce I put out there is going to be liked by people, But as you said, you kind of have to have that grit and determination just to keep going at it. And I think that's why I got the tattoo as well, to just force myself that, look, this, as I said, it's either going to be a pleasant reminder down the line and a great story, or it's just going to eat away at me. And I don't think it's going to be the latter. So it's just about keeping the focus or keeping your vision and focus and just keep plugging away in it. As I said at an event last Thursday, at an EY event, as long as you're moving forward, even on the days that you don't want to work, even if you do 2 hours that day, that'll stand to you than doing nothing. As the old saying, it'll compound, 1% every day is better than no percent. And if you just keep moving forward and have a vision, it doesn't always have to be clear, but you have a vision in mind, you should get there if you just put the head down and keep going.
Yeah. It's a great point. What I've seen in the hot sauce world is some of the guys trying to create, because the possibilities are endless, right?
Yeah.
You can always create new items and new items and new items, and you get to a point where you've overskewed. Whereas some of the guys that I've seen that are very successful have a core of about 5 items, and 5 items that they know really work really well. And then what they do is they come out with the limited edition items, and that sort of keeps the brand fresh and it keeps things moving, and it feeds the creativity process, but at the same time stops the brand from getting overskewed.
Oh, can massively agree there. And it was advised to me by the mentors in Super Value Musgraves that they loved the 3 products that I gave or introduced to them, but they were like, you could be taking on a bit more. And on reflection, if I'm being honest, I probably would have just launched with the hot sauce and grown that. But I'm very happy that I have the 3 on the market. They're 3 completely different products, but you don't want to oversaturate your own SKUs, and you have to learn and figure out what works best, and you do have to evaluate that. And like, it's funny you mentioned limited edition, because I am going to be launching a limited edition hot honey hot sauce over the next few months. A good friend of mine, he runs a company called Jer's Hot Honey. They were the first hot honey company here in Ireland, and he was very kind to give me about 35 kilos of chili peppers that have been fermenting in honey for nearly 2 years. So I'll be releasing that limited edition, and hopefully it goes well. But it's also a way for me to get feedback on what works and doesn't work,
Sure.
but also there is a lot of time and financial effort into a product launch. You know, I'm sure you know yourself that you could dedicate so much time and resources into something you're guaranteed you think is going to be a winner. You launch it and it goes absolutely nowhere, and then you have nothing else to fall back on, or you've kind of put all your sauce in one basket. So using those type of strategies and methods to test the market and also keep your customer base engaged, you know, that's what it's about. I'm very lucky that we do have a very strong loyal following and loyal customers both here in Ireland and across Europe and the UK. And one of the goals for me is to try, obviously, build brand awareness, but add brand value, but also add value to our followers and our community, be it through fun, interesting recipes. With that limited edition sauce, a little teaser, if you will, I'll be giving a bottle to our top 100 customers that have been repeat customers throughout the years as a way of thanking them. Like when people place orders online through our e-commerce site, I'll include bottles now and again of some sauces in development and just ask them to let us know how it goes. And I found that's really helpful, but it's also a way for them to be part of the process as well.
Sure. Yeah, it's always good to include the hardcore customers or your loyal customers in the process, because they're just going to talk about it. And that word of mouth is tremendous. So,
no, I think hit the nail on the head. And as I said, I have been blessed that we have genuinely got some incredibly good customers and more supporters than anything. And it still does blow my mind a bit when people tweet about it or comment about it or share it. And that's just genuine. It's still maybe the imposter syndrome in me, but it is still a bit mind blowing when you see some random person posting about it. I've had one or two people come up to me in in-store tasting saying that they saw I was going to be here. They came and followed. And that to me was just, it's still a bit mad, but it does mean the world. It means a lot to me as the founder and us as the brand.
Well, it motivates you as well.
Oh, big time. Yeah, definitely. And it's great to build those connections, both on a personal level and a business level, you know. And as I said, genuinely, hopefully I can continue to build a brand. And the goal is to build a strong community that I'm adding value to, be it through our newsletter or recipes. But I also have met a countless amount of Irish producers here, like Mixed Chili. The owner of that, Mick, he's based in the country. I've been a fan of his sauces for years, and I met him at the Irish Food Awards a couple of years ago. He's been him and his entire team have been incredibly supportive. And I've met countless other sauce companies here. There's been some new sauce companies set up in Dublin. There's a new salsa company set up, Garnacha. They've been incredibly supportive as well. And I probably should mention our salsa. It's something I'm really proud of as well. Our salsa was the first Irish made salsa to be sold in Irish retailers when we launched 3 years ago, which I didn't know. And I'm very happy that I do know that now, but not directly as a result, but there's a number of new brands. As I mentioned, Garnacha, they're a Dublin-based company. They've got 2 amazing products. There's some amazing other producers like across the island of Ireland and across Europe that I'm very blessed to have met and connected with. And people always say, are you not worried about the competitors or people stealing ideas? And no, not really, because I've had no bad experience with any competitors I've met competitors, but it's the one industry I've worked in where people are so willing to share information and to help each other. And it's really nice. Like, I come from a sales background. I've managed bars and restaurants across the world, but I've worked in corporate sales in a number of different industries, and great jobs, great people I've worked with. But you're not going to be sharing your company secrets with or telling your competitor, this is how I did something in those industries. So it's refreshing to have that in our own industry.
Yeah. Well, it's more craftsman than it is. That's the reason. It's more craftsman, and everything is unique. So you can give somebody a recipe, but it may not come out the same way, right? There's always little twists and turns and tricks, but it is a supportive group, but they're smart because it just continues to expand the whole category, and it just gets more and more customers involved, and your sauce is going to be different than their sauce, so it's really not competition.
Oh, 100%. You really did hit the nail on the head there. I think the more my ethos has always been, I'm always happy to help, being in any walk of my life. And I think you catch more, what is the old saying, you catch more flies with honey than vinegar. Honey, yeah. But we use vinegar in our sauce, and I do know you can catch flies with that. But I do genuinely believe that if you're helpful, or like, I remember people who have helped me over the last 5 years with this journey, do you know what I mean? And continue to help and continue to support me. And I will always remember that. I'd like to think people that I've helped along their way and along their journey and supported, they will as well. And if you pay it forward, it does come back. The world can be a tough place at times, and there can be a lot of, what's out there. Why be another one? Try be nice and help people when you can.
Yeah, sure. Well, we're almost out of time. We got to start wrapping it up. Any last words? Any sort of words of wisdom for young aspiring sauce makers, entrepreneurs, brand builders?
No, but one thing I quickly, I do, yeah, but you touched on it about in terms of you can make different recipes. It's a lesson I learned that you can't necessarily patent a sauce. So Levi Roots is a famous sauce maker from the UK. He created reggae sauce years ago and was on Shark Tank. Dragon's Den, which is similar to Shark Tank. And he taught me years ago that you have to protect it some way. So I've trademarked the logo and the name. The logo, which I'm really proud of, because we've got the Irish Harp trademark, which will hopefully stand to us moving forward. But that was something I had to learn learn throughout the journey. But in terms of what I'd say to any entrepreneur or any food business, just go for it. I know you get that a lot, but genuinely, there's power in just doing it, just showing up and doing it. You may not know everything. I certainly don't know everything, and you won't know everything throughout the journey, but you won't know if you can do it unless you do it. So start small, build big. Look at what local support you have. It being in Ireland, the local enterprise office. I'm not too sure. Different counties, different government bodies out there in America and worldwide. Speak to government. People are willing to help. People want to see people succeed, and people want to see people taking a risk on themselves. So just take that risk and take your time. Have a plan, take your time. You don't always have to have the right answer. If you don't, there's no harm in putting your hand up and say, look, I don't know, I'll come back, or I'll find someone that will figure it out.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. It's I agree with you. All right, well, I've just got to run some closing stuff, but I appreciate you coming on and sharing your wisdom, and I look forward to seeing your sauce in the States at some point.
Yeah. Cheers, Phil. Genuinely, thank you so much for the opportunity and for everything you do. It's amazing that you have a platform to give people the opportunity to talk about their passions and to shine a light on people like myself and other producers and entrepreneurs. So thank you so much. Fingers crossed we'll be nationwide in the States in the next couple of years.
That'd be great. Well, there's always Amazon, right? There's always
Amazon.
It,
yeah.
Yeah.
And they are just opening a factory here in Ireland, so we could be there a lot sooner than we think. So thanks again, Phil. It's been an absolute pleasure, genuinely, and I really have enjoyed it.
Yeah, my pleasure. I appreciate you coming on.
Thanks, Phil.
Bye. Yeah, it's a great, I think a great entrepreneurial story. I always love the bootstrappers. I always love the guys who just get in there and do it. And they're generally the ones that are more successful. So, good story. And, so if you want to visit his website, Shane's website, the link will be in the description. All of his information is in the description, his background. We put his social media links for the brand. So if you're interested, no matter where you are, I mean, we have a worldwide audience. We may have some people from Ireland that never saw the product. So I didn't see many comments coming in from Ireland, but you never know. So Yeah, I think it's a great story. So, yeah, thanks for tuning in. Next, we've got a couple of great ones coming up. We've got John Hewitt coming up, who started the tax business, Hewitt Jackson and Liberty Tax. He'll be on. He's a franchise king. We've got the ex Google employees coming on to talk about running Google ads and things like that. So, tune in over the next couple of weeks, and we'll see you. We'll see you next time. Thanks.